Hi creatives, welcome to True Creativity Insights. I am excited about this episode because in my previous episode I talked about that I was going to share something exciting in this episode. So here I am finally being able to talk to you about this stuff that I'm actually working on. Excuse the background noise. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get rid of that gardener noise in the background, but hopefully it's not too distracting. I was kind of waiting it out, but they're not. It just could be an all-day thing, so who knows. So I'm going to record this anyway. So welcome. I am here to talk about creativity as a spiritual practice because I'm really excited about this. This is part of my new class series that I'll be talking a little bit more about in detail, but I wanted to talk about the idea of creativity as a spiritual practice. So, and what do I mean by this? I mean being able to use either art making, dance, writing, poetry, any creative activity as a tool for self-care, to maintain well-being, and most importantly, a spiritual connectedness to something beyond ourselves, to connecting to something that is of a higher power and what I call creative spirit. So for me, creativity throughout my life, and this has been something that has just been intuitive most of my life, that I haven't really put words to it or actually fully understood it, but intuitively I would always resort to something creative, and for me it was art making, and sometimes it was writing poetry or writing in my journal, or any form of creative activity that I would do as a kid. I would do it throughout my life as a way to get centered, to reground myself. It was a way for me to retreat to a place where I could get comfort, a place that I could actually get some peace. Creativity became a form of wholeness. I could regroup when there were challenging times going on in my life, and often I would retreat to creativity to help me make sense of something that was out of my control, that was unsettling, like the uncertainty of my circumstances. So I would always resort to either art making or poetry. So this is something I've done throughout my life, and I realized it was a form of self-care, and I would just instinctually do this. So even as I have been teaching for the last 7 years, I've been teaching mixed media classes, I've been sort of sprinkling this stuff around in my retreats, in some of my classes, and I realize that it's something that I'm very excited about, and now I'm able to actually pull it all together and create a class series that is going to be based on creativity as a spiritual practice. So, but backing up, I'm going to talk a little bit about creative spirit. So creative spirit, I'm going to be referring to this, can be referred to as a higher power. It could be the divine. It could be considered the universe. It could be considered spirit. Whatever it is, it's something that is connecting to something beyond ourselves, which helps us to create a deeper relationship with not only ourselves as artists, but a deeper relationship with our creative process. So for me, creative spirit is something that I've tapped into in my own creative process, and in my experience, and this is kind of how I best describe it, is and this usually happens when I get to a place of frustration. I'm forcing something to happen on my artwork. working it, and now it's starting to feel like I'm trying to force some kind of resolution to happen on the surface. I'm frustrated. I feel like it's just not working. It is usually in those moments when I completely surrender to, okay, I'm just going to let go. I'm trying to control this. I'm trying to perfect it. I'm now going to just let go of control, and I'm going to completely surrender. When I have made the decision to surrender to being fully present, and what does that look like? It means accepting whatever's happening on the surface or the art project that I'm working on. I'm letting go. I'm accepting what's happening without overthinking, without judging it, without judgment, without expectation. I'm just going to let it go, and I'm just going to let it happen. And when I do that, that is when I feel like creative spirit can now flow through me effortlessly. And usually in these moments, I feel like there's a timelessness, there's a stillness, there's a peaceful place there because I've let go. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just letting creative spirit dictate what's the next color, what's the next move, what's the next collage piece that I'm going to add to it, whatever that is. I'm no longer making the decisions, but something is just naturally and intuitively and organically happening. And I have come to label this as creative spirit. Now, this is not a new concept. Artists for centuries have referred to this as the muse, as the divine, as the beloved. This is something that Julia Cameron has talked about in her book, The Artist's Way, and why creativity and spirituality are the same and both go hand in hand. Another thing about having creativity be a form of self-care is that it helps us with resilience. And a good example of this is, when you're going through challenging times and you feel like you don't quite have the support that you need. Sometimes if you're struggling with getting the right people to understand what you're going through, or finding the right people to support you, we always don't have the perfect support system. We have to often piecemeal our support system. We get a little bit of this type of support from our girlfriends or our friends, or we get a little bit of support, like this type of support from our partner, our spouse, our parents, our friends, our close relatives, or even coaches. So we piecemeal our support system. But what I found for me, and I've had my share of challenging times during my life, is that creativity was almost a sort of consistent support system for me. And this might be a new concept for some of you, but when I talk about that, it's almost like when you tap into your creative process and your creative spirit, there is a support system that you can't necessarily talk to or speak to or see, but it's there because you can feel it. So oftentimes I would go to my studio or my creative space when I'm feeling either, anxious or discouraged or just cranky or whatever is going on in my life that I'm not in the greatest mood, or maybe I'm in a negative mood. And I know that I can just go to my creative space and start creating. And whether that's art journaling, whether that's a project that's working on, or just playing with experimenting, or just the simplest simplest form of creating, I feel supported in that moment. It's almost like I can go there and feel a sense of comfort, a sense of understanding, a sense of, encouragement. as I create. So that's another benefit of being able to use creativity as a spiritual practice, as a wellness practice. So creativity is also a really great tool to develop resilience, because life is always going to be filled with some kind of challenge or unexpected thing is going to get thrown our way. Many of us understand this in the last few years with the pandemic. Totally did not see that one coming, right? And I know for me, I had to put all my practices in place just for me to stay centered and grounded during that time. And for many of us, it was very challenging. So, and that was one of them why I just wanted to keep giving my students a form of creativity during that time to keep them grounded and sane and to keep them, resilience up. So I just wanted to mention that as another benefit of establishing creativity as a spiritual practice. So for me, this is something that I've always wanted to teach, but didn't quite figure out how I was going to do that. So I am excited to be introducing my newest class series called True Creativity, the Creative Spirit Connection. And how this is going to work is on a monthly basis. We're going to meet 2 times a month. The first session, which is going to happen on the second Sunday of each month, I'm going to actually talk about a theme. And the theme could be, like I have one theme called Mark Making Mindfulness, where we actually use mark making as a form of a mindfulness meditation. But overall, I'm going to be teaching art practices that will help us dive deeper and become more immersed in the present moment as we create. So we're going to actually develop a deeper relationship with the creative process. Also, this is not just about spirituality, it's also going to be a form of self-care, so that you can use creativity as a place that you can retreat to get grounded, to get centered, to, if you're making an important decision in your life and you're confused and you feel anxious, you can resort to a creative practice to get centered and connect to your true self. I know for me, whenever I go to creativity, I reconnect with who I am, with my authentic self. So on the session, I'm going to actually show you how to do a specific art practice. It's going to be a different art practice every month. We're going to do that in class. And then you're going to actually have an opportunity to practice it for a few weeks. And during the entire month, I'm going to be sending you video snippets to keep you motivated and inspired and connected to that theme. Then we're going to come together at the last Sunday of the month, and usually it's the 4th Sunday of the month, and we're going to reflect on, well, how was that for you? Did you have any aha moments, epiphanies? Did you experience connecting to it a little deeper? So there's a lot for me to talk about, because there's so much in this class series that I'm going to be doing, but I just wanted to introduce you to this new class series that I'm launching. And then also, it's going to be an opportunity to connect with other creatives with the purpose and the intention of creating for the purpose of having a spiritual connectedness with creative spirit, using it as a tool for self-care, and also a tool for you to connect more deeply and closely to your intuition, your own inner wisdom. And I'm just really excited about this, because I feel like this is going to be just another way to take your creative practice to the next level. So don't get me wrong, making art, doing something artistically beautiful, whether that's a project, something you put up on your wall, that is rewarding and that's important. But what I'm talking about is taking your creative spirit to the next level and having a deeper relationship with it, so that it doesn't all become about the end result, the final product, what you've completed. It's really going to be focused mostly on the process and who you are and what's coming up for you during the creative process. So I just wanted to make that clear because, those projects are important. The one-off projects, perfect, they're great, they're fun to do. You learn a lot in terms of yourself as an artist and your artistic skills. But this is going to be something a little bit deeper, and especially for those of you who have done a lot of that and are ready to have creativity become something bigger in your life, this class series is going to be perfect for you. So, for those of you who think, well, this sounds a little bit new agey, kind of mystical, whatever, there's actual science behind this. Back in the 80s, there was an emphasis on creativity was strictly on the right side of the brain, right? And there's some truth to that. The right side of the brain is more intuitive, more creative, instinctual, and the left side is a little bit more linear, logical. But new research, neuroscience research, shows that true creativity, true creative flow, creative process, is this dance back and forth between the right and the left. And what that means is when you're in the creative process and fully immersed, you are holding contradicting elements like logic and intuition simultaneously. So they're working hand in hand back and forth. And that process, some people call it creative flow, where they have lost all track of time. They're just so deep into the process. There's no longer any hesitation or fear or doubt. They're just in the flow. That creates a sense of well-being and wholeness. So there's a neuroscientific backing to what I'm talking about. So, and it's still the same thing. So I wanted to share that little snippet with you. But I am launching this new class series, so if you want to find out more details about it, please visit truecreativitywithin.com. And if you're not on my email list, please get on my email list so that you can stay up to date on what's going on with that program and my workshop, my upcoming workshops. And also, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can also stay up to date. So I'm excited about this new series. I hope you will check it out. I hope you will join, because this is going to be a year-long series, and I'm predicting a year-plus long series, because we're going to meet every month, and it's going to be about helping you also establish some consistency in your creative practice. So I was excited. I wanted to share that with you. I also put a link to the webpage so that you can click on that and check out all the details on my new class series, True Creativity, the Creative Spirit Connection. So I hope to see you there, and thank you guys for watching. Until next time, stay creative. Bye.